Floyd did that intentionally?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Why? After so much time, after like I guess again after what we think he helped you come into the game, he gave you the spotlight. Like why would he try to diminish your career?
Because at that time I was.
When Gervonta Davis first broke onto the scene, he was Floyd Mayweather's protégé, handpicked, mentored, molded in the money team system. But when asked whether Floyd intentionally tried to sabotage him, Tank doesn't hesitate. He says, for sure. That single confirmation carries years of suppressed frustration. Tank isn't talking like a rookie angry at his mentor. He's speaking like a soldier who survived his general's betrayal. The truth is, Mayweather and Tank's dynamic was built on power imbalance. The mentor was also the gatekeeper. Floyd knew that Gervonta had the one thing he couldn't replicate: raw, destructive talent. S.O. Imagine being the legend who sees your own reflection, only hungrier, younger, and more dangerous. The fear wasn't that Tank would fail. It was that he'd succeed without Floyd's permission. Tank's rise symbolized freedom from the money team machine. He didn't want to be another chapter in Floyd's autobiography. He wanted his own book. And for Mayweather, that was unacceptable. When Tank says for sure, he isn't talking theory. He's acknowledging a war fought behind closed doors. A war of scheduling, PR manipulation, and subtle sabotage. The fighter's version of corporate warfare, except here, the battlefield was the spotlight. And Tank, he learned to fight in the dark.
I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to bring up mom. But it was somehow that they were saying that I was messing with his daughter off of the fact that she kept Snapchatting.
Okay.
She kept hitting me on the Snapchat. So
then, Tank pulls back the curtain, saying everything changed because Floyd thought he was messing with his daughter. A petty rumor born from a few Snapchat interactions became a full-blown professional fallout. It's wild when you think about it. An entire boxing empire shaken by a social media misunderstanding. But that's not what's important here. What matters is how Tank handled it. Instead of blowing up or defending himself publicly, he internalized it. He knew the politics of proximity, that when power is personal, logic doesn't matter. This moment reveals how deeply controlled Tank's early career was. Every move was under surveillance. Floyd didn't just want to manage his fights. He wanted to manage his image, his emotions, even his relationships. Tank realizing this was the beginning of his emancipation. The Snapchat story isn't drama. It's a turning point. The moment Tank saw that his biggest opponent wasn't across the ring. It was the man sitting behind it.
Floyd bugged out.
Okay.
So that's what made it like.
And you think that was a downfall of y'all career? I mean, y'all
No, it was a
relationship, not
downfall.
career.
Yeah,
relationship.
yeah.
When Tank recalls Floyd bugging out, he's describing the mask slipping. Floyd, the calm, smooth-talking businessman, became emotional, erratic. The rumor had hit a nerve. But Tank's reaction? Cold, measured, almost detached. He calls it not a downfall of his career. That calm is what defines Gervonta Davis. Even under attack from his own promoter, he never lets his emotions control the mission. While Floyd spiraled into ego-driven decisions, Tank adapted. He watched the politics unfold, recognized the manipulation, and quietly built his own foundation. That it's that emotional control, that icy composure, that makes him terrifying in the ring. Most fighters fight for validation. Tank fights because he's already been through every kind of betrayal imaginable. You can't rattle a man who's been sabotaged by the person who once called him family. When Floyd bugged out, Tank evolved. It's not revenge that motivates him, it's revelation. He learned that power isn't given, it's taken.
It wasn't a downfall of my career. I mean, our relationship, because it was more things that he was doing. Like
He scheduled a fight, I think, during like your fight or something. I don't think they did it,
yeah,
but
stuff like that.
promoting.
Yeah, stuff like that. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But just little stuff that.
Tank explains that Floyd began scheduling fights at the same time as his. Subtle moves, not enough to destroy, but enough to distract. It's textbook dominant psychology. Maintain control by dividing attention. But Tank didn't crumble. He recalibrated. He saw the pettiness for what it was and focused on legacy, not spotlight. What makes this section powerful is how it mirrors the ring. Floyd's tactics outside the ropes are what Tank dismantles inside them. Precision, patience, punishment not be why the time Tank began fighting under his own banner. He had already learned every trick from the master manipulator.
People are not watching boxing in the United States of America. That has left a hole that the broadcasters have looked to fill, and they've done this with influencer boxing, which brings a completely different audience to the game.
Now we move to Adam Catterall, a respected boxing analyst, who bluntly states that traditional boxing's decline has left a void. That vacuum has been filled by influencer boxing. This matters because it sets the stage for why Tank's brand of destruction is so important. In a world where YouTubers headline pay-per-views, Tank represents the last of the purists. The man who fights not for clicks, but for conquest. Yet even he can't escape the system. The same circus that has made Jake Paul relevant has also forced Tank into a commercialized battlefield that Catterall's observation isn't just criticism, it's prophecy. Tank versus Jake isn't random. It's evolution. Boxing needed a savior, but instead got a spectacle. Now, Tank stands as both, the destroyer and the redeemer. His fight isn't just about Jake Paul. It's about restoring the sport's soul.
Got a guy like Gervonta, who I personally think has been checked out for way longer than this last fight. I think he was checked out prior to the Roach fight. I thought this was all going to be in the works, where he was supposed to beat the 16-1 Roach and then go on to fight Jake Paul and then call it a career, because I think the people around him understood there wasn't much left in the tank for him in terms of his want or his desire to be here.
Finally, Algieri calls the Jake Paul fight what it is, a cash out. But maybe it's something bigger. To some, it's spectacle. To Tank, it's strategy. Because this isn't about proving himself anymore. It's about testing the machine. The influencer world that stole boxing's soul now faces its reckoning. Jake Paul has money, media, and momentum. Tank has legacy, lethality, and legitimacy. The collision isn't a gimmick. It's Judgment Day. Algieri's right about one thing. Tank doesn't want to feel the grind again. But what he does want is control over his story, his legacy, his empire. That's why this fight matters. It's not about Jake Paul's fame. It's about what happens when boxing's most authentic destroyer walks into the circus and burns the tent down. If Tank wins, he reminds the world what a real fighter looks like. If Jake survives, he exposes how blurred the line between spectacle and sport has become. Either way, history gets made, because when Tank Davis fights, the sport either evolves or evaporates.
Every promoter and broadcaster on this planet is to blame for this situation that we are finding ourselves in right now. They've opened the door to clowns, and now we've got ourselves a circus. It is a travesty.
Catterall doubles down, saying promoters and broadcasters have opened the door to clowns, turning the sport into a circus. And he's right. The hunger for entertainment has corrupted the craft. But that's why Tank is terrifying, because he's the antidote to the circus. He doesn't dance, doesn't vlog, doesn't play for the cameras. He fights like boxing is sacred, and that conviction separates him from the gimmicks. When he enters the ring against Jake Paul, he's not fighting one man. He's fighting an entire era of marketing masquerading as competition. The clowns are loud, but Tank's silence is lethal. He doesn't need to perform. He just needs to remind a world that real violence doesn't trend. It terrifies that in an industry addicted to noise, Tank is the quiet apocalypse.
Yeah, man, I just kind of want to raise my family. I don't know how much left of boxing for me. I don't want to see a therapist. I want to, I need to, but I don't want to take away from my fighting. But I think it's time for me to do stuff like that. So I think the writing's been on the wall for Tank for a while.
Chris Algieri, former world champion turned analyst, makes a chilling claim that Gervonta Tank Davis has been checked out for a while. He says the hunger might be fading, the fire dimming. But here's where most people get it wrong. Tank doesn't need to shout to prove he's burning. His silence is its own storm. See, Tank's quiet doesn't mean apathy. It means control. When Algieri looks at Tank and thinks he's detached, what he's really seeing is containment. Fighters like Tank don't rely on visible rage. They weaponize restraint. It's a predator's patience, the kind of stillness that comes before the explosion. But Algieri's perspective isn't without truth. The weight of fame, money, and betrayal can numb even the most lethal minds. Tank's battle isn't just physical anymore, it's psychological. He's conquered the sport, the headlines, the doubters, so what's left to fight? That's where the Jake Paul fight comes in. It's not a fight Tank needs, it's a fight he chose. Because sometimes, when a warrior starts feeling like a ghost, he needs a reminder that he's still alive. And for Gervonta Davis, nothing brings life like the sound of someone hitting the canvas.
So that draw was kind of just like, I was on the way out anyway. I don't need to go back in there. And I said it at the end of that fight. I'm like, there's no way we see that rematch. He was so uncomfortable in that ring with Roach. He doesn't want to feel that again. He showed that night. So I'm not surprised that fight's not happening. I'm not even surprised he's fighting Jake Paul now. It's a cash out.
Algieri goes deeper, saying the writing has been on the wall for Tank. That maybe this is the final stretch. The whispers of retirement, the fatigue, the reflection. But he also says something revealing. That Tank's exit wouldn't come from weakness, but from awareness. Tank has always been 2 steps ahead. He doesn't waste energy where there's no evolution. When Algieri says the writing's on the wall, it's not a eulogy, it's an evolution notice. Tank has already seen how the sport consumes its kings. Tyson, Mayweather, Pacquiao, all became prisoners of their own fame. Tank's next chapter isn't about chasing ghosts. It's about rewriting the script. If he walks away, he'll do it undefeated, unowned, unbroken. The writing might be there, but Tank holds the pen. And if he keeps swinging, it's not out of necessity. It's because he's still got something to say. That's the scariest part. A fighter who doesn't need to fight, but still chooses violence. From breaking opponents with surgical precision to surviving betrayal from his own mentor, Gervonta Davis is a living paradox, both chaos and control. His punches are math equations solved in blood. His mindset is colder than the gloves he wears. That he's not just a knockout artist. He's a mirror of what boxing used to be. Calculated, ruthless, silent. Every fighter fears him not just for his power, but for his calm. You can't intimidate a man who's already been through hell and build a home there. And now, as Tank prepares for Jake Paul, the YouTube disruptor, the self-made circus act, the stakes are poetic. Legacy versus entertainment. Precision versus promotion. Skill versus spectacle. If Tank dominates, he cements himself as the last true king of a dying empire. If Jake Paul survives, the internet will implode, and boxing's identity will never be the same. Either way, when the bell rings, the world will remember one thing. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't fight for fame. He fights to remind you what fear feels like.